At the creation of the world, God's intention wasn't just to have a playing field where you could practice artistic prowess, forming creatures from nothingness, divine basic law that forms the pillars of science. But when he spoke, his words materialized, forming each letter with blood, coating itself with birds, feathers, fins, and scales. When he got to a particular species, he wanted one that portrays the very essence of his divinity, that withheld the image of his majesty, that spoke of his greatness. With this species just being alive, they came together and said, let us make man in our own image. For previous species older than man, because apparently we are the last one of creation, they had one goal: to survive, and that was their default mode. But it turns to man and made him understand that he has dominion, because he is a replica of the Most High. He is a walking reference of God's power. So apart from man's procreative duty, man's entire existence is based off of the premise of worship, the magnification of an entity. Now, attentive ears take note. I never said worship God, but worship. We were made to worship God, but not programmed to worship Him. Because He has given us the gift of free will, we have to willingly, consciously, deliberately choose Him to worship and not mammon. If we were programmed with the former, we wouldn't be any better than robots now, would we? Contradicting the passage that called us gods, demigods, distorting our godliness as the only created beings with the ability to choose whom to worship. Our default mode, worship, and with it is the need for a concept, a subject, a God we must bow to. That's the reason why the itchy ears and the hands of the Israelites could not bear to understand Moses any longer. They had to gather their gifted goals from Egypt and ignite a God to worship, swearing their entirety to a God with their hands. Their choice was clear. The rod and staff turns them from the broad way to the narrow. Now there's a fallacy, a lie, propagated by the most wanted criminal, the devil, that with us present are dozens of gods to choose from the sun to the moon to the universe. But make no mistake, we have just two. And for those who fall into this fallacy, if God Jesus is not on your pedestal, there will be an inevitable rape of your worship placed before you with gods. Your mind will feel stirred that you are becoming a slave to what you're finally subjected beneath it. And at the end of the road, at the gate of your eternity, what you thought was harmless, what you treasured with all your heart, unconsciously worshipping it, will unveil itself to be mammon. But we are gifted with three outstanding elements: the body, the soul, and the spirit. We're not just magnificent to run around and play gods on earth. Let's take a look in the mirror and let our image minister to us. Let your feature testify that they are not ordinary. Never. They are a replica. God's replica. Your physique is given to you for the sole purpose of gratifying Him. You think these ends are just for your pleasure. They are to be used for His exaltation. This mind must think of new ways of magnifying His kingdom. He hasn't given us access to the most intelligent machine in our brain just so it could be used to abbreviate long words. So much investment into one mind wasted in death when all we had to do was just think. The Bible says how beautiful are the feet of those that preach the gospel. Well, if those feet could stop standing on one spot and start walking. Here's my contribution to the dictionary. Your worship is synonymous to your life because your life is your worship. Your existence is your worship. It doesn't begin with your morning devotion. It doesn't end with a great in church service. It begins with the affirmation of your gender, from birth to the inhalation of your final breath at death. So you are not just a teacher, you are a temple. You are not just a student, but the embodiment of God's divinity. You are not just a waiter, you're the semblance of heaven in human form. And you're not just a person, you are a walking worship.